What's up, YouTube? PokePrimer here, primed and ready to deliver you our draft analysis for the PTL, the Pallet Town League. This is a league that I've joined a while ago. We've seen some stuff about with the a lot of the former guys from Fella, if you guys remember that. Some really good times with all of them, and I love working with these guys, and I'm really excited for what is now PTL Season 4 to get started. So for those who don't know too much about PTL, you draft based around colors. Each team picks a color and gets randomized a color. Unless you're the champion, you get to pick your color. And then you can pick up, you have to pick up 3 mons from that particular color, and then you have to grab one of every other color. So that's what we went about here. Each team also gets to declare 2 Pokemon that can Mega Evolve and 2 Pokemon that can use Z moves. So we will go over those as we go through. But I chose black. Last season I was the champion. I won with a white team. I was the white coach last season. So this season I decided to completely flip it and go with black. So that's the plan. That was the plan, and when I looked at the black tier after I took a minute to sit down and start kind of planning things out, once I looked at the black tier, I knew I'd have to draft all my black mons first. First 3 rounds had to grab black because it's a very shallow color tier, and a lot of the mons in black I felt could go pretty quickly, so I had to dive in there as soon as possible so I can grab as many of them as I can before they were all gone. So that was the plan to start with the draft. And round 1, we had discussed banning this thing. First of all, this was something that was discussed. We discussed a few bans before the season, and this thing just barely made it through. And I was like, you know what? Since that made it through, I'm picking black, and that is Mawile. Now, not just regular. Now, we can use either the regular form or the Mega form in this league. We don't have to always have the Mega Stone. We don't have to Mega Evolve right away, if I remember correctly, from last season, because I did use regular Slowbro a lot more than Mega Slowbro, and yada. But I do have access to regular Mawile here. Now, regular Mawile is a very interesting Pokemon. I love its typing of Steel and Fairy. It's really solid. You see how bulky things like Klefki and Magearna can be when used properly, and I think having regular Mawile with the ability to Intimidate is really useful. It can definitely be extremely useful. I do thoroughly enjoy using regular Mawile sometimes. Intimidate and Sheer Force as abilities are really good. Hypercutter's I don't really need Hypercutter all that much, to be honest. But Intimidate and Sheer Force are both really good abilities. I could make use of those. I could definitely make plenty of use with those if I get the chance to. Usually, most times, I'm going to be running Intimidate on it because of the fact that I did choose this thing to be a Megamon, but I'll go over the Mega itself separately. This thing has a lot of interesting options that I actually didn't even know. It does know Baton Pass. Dry Baton Pass is allowed in this league, so I can run Baton Pass as an easy way. If I think they're going to switch, I can use that to gain momentum. It could be really useful. Some decent coverage, Brick Break, Crunch, Fire Fang. Also with the ability to use Sheer Force, that base 55 special attack stat makes it's still fairly viable. There are other Sheer Force mons that can use special moves pretty effectively without having a special attack stat. Tauros is an amazing example. A lot of people tech special moves onto Tauros with Sheer Force sets to nuke some things that they might not be able to nuke otherwise. So that could be really useful, something to use in the future if I want to bring a Sheer Force set. So a lot of really interesting options for coverage with this mon. A stab knockoff user, or not a stab, but a knockoff user is always good, especially as the first pick in the draft. It's really great. Just overall awesome potential. Can be more supportive, can be a setup sweeper, or setup late game cleanup mon. It has the ability to set rocks, which is nice. Just a lot of good overall things come from having Mawile on the team. So I'm really excited to finally get a chance to use it, because I've really never used Mawile before, or Mega Mawile at all either. And speaking of that, we do have the ability to use Mega Mawile. As you can see, the stats are definitely a lot better, with increases to its defense, special defense, and attack. Really massive boosts to its defensive stats, which makes it much harder to kill. It can eat a lot of hits, especially if you run Intimidate on your Mawile before Mega Evolving. You can get this thing in on a physical attacker that won't threaten it. You can get pretty much a free Mega, potentially free sub on something, and then you can set up and get to work. And with huge power and a base 105 attack stat, this thing is disgustingly strong. Huge power, this Pokemon's attack is doubled. Just look at that. With no investment and 0 IVs, with huge power, this Pokemon has higher attacks, has higher to attack than, I think, like, had to be like a base 160 or something to have, like, max invested, like, base 140s, 150s to have an attack stat the same as a non-invested 0 IV neutral-natured Mega Mawile. And that is some insane statistics, if you really think about it. So, imagine this thing fully invested. This thing's tapping out at, like, give those 31 IVs. We're tapping out at 618 attack. At max attack. That is insane. If you're able to run Adamant, that's even more crazy. You're tapping out at 678. That is an attack stat rivaling the gods. Beyond fantastic. Things need to set up to get to that attack power. And you will more than likely have the ability to set up. This thing with a Swords Dance, it reaches heights that aren't even imaginable. So with a Mon this powerful, you know, it can do a lot of work. Its physical move pool is really good. Between things like Iron Head, having access to all of the Fang moves, and actually Elemental Punches. Now that I see that, that's actually really cool. I love how it gets Fire Fang and not Fire Punch. And it gets both Ice Punch and Ice Fang, but it only gets Thunder Punch. Why does it not get Thunder Fang? Does it get Poison Fang? Just out of curiosity. It does get Poison Fang. Shit. Or is Thunder Fang down here? Thunder Fang is down here. Why is Thunder Fang down here? I guess it's Thunder Punch. But why is Ice Fang up there? I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. But still, you know, regardless, it does get all the fangs. It gets all the it gets almost all the elemental punches. So it has a lot of, it has a really deep physical move pool that can be used to my advantage. I could really tear through an opponent's team if used properly, and I hope that I can use it properly, because this thing is ridiculously powerful and really hard to switch into. That was one of my things with my first few picks. I wanted to get just straight offensive pressure, offensive destruction for my first few mons. And I would say that I did that very effectively. If you want to see what some of the other coaches as well thought about this draft, Stibe and Dork, they did a draft review for the PTL. They kind of went over everybody's drafts. So I will link that in the description below if you guys want to check that out as well. I thought they were really insightful as to what they thought on each draft, so really cool. Definitely check that out. But yeah, I think Mega Mawile has a lot of options. For my next black pick, I went with a Pokemon that has been extremely useful for me over the past, in multiple leagues over the past several months. And that Pokemon is Ron Weasley, the Weavile. And is going to be my first Z Crystal user, because I've been using Weavile as a Z Crystal user in many leagues right now, and I have yet to be disappointed. You see its attack stat, you see its speed, and I don't need to say much else. It's fast, it hits ridiculously hard, it has stab knockoff with priority and ice shard. This thing is a late game cleaner if you've ever seen one. I've had games where it's literally come down to, it could be a 5-3, 5-2 advantage, and I can literally just put Weavile on the field, maybe nuke something with a Z move, and then just clean up by clicking a combination of Ice Shard, Knockoff, or Icicle Crash. And just clean through the rest of a team. This thing has so many potential options that it can do. And by options, I mean it's literally either click Knockoff. It's not hard to prep for a Weavile, but at the same time it is, because you can have just the appropriate checks, like bulky enough things that can take physical hits from a Weavile, but once those are gone, you're doomed, because Weavile will clean through most teams late game. It can be banded. Banded sets are amazingly dangerous. It can be an SD setup set. A lot of really amazing Z options. Having access to moves like Focus Punch make it a really good Z user, because you can tech things like that. You can tech on the appropriate Z move for that and just nuke through something really, really easily. There's a lot of really good Z options. Beginnium Z, obviously, Stab, Icium, and Darkium Z, Phytanium Z. I wish this thing got some of the elemental punches so that we can throw those Zs on there. You can run Poisonium Z with Poison Jab to kill fairies, or you can also run Steelium Z because it gets access to both Metal Claw and Iron Tail, depending on how much of a Steelium Z you need. You can tech those on as well. And just overall, this thing has so many amazing options to go with as a Z user that you're really missing out if you don't go for it. This is a fantastic Pokemon. I can't wait to use it again. I'm just excited. So, run Weavly the Weavile, one of fellow Coach Justin's favorite nicknames ever. He's just like, yep, with that nickname you win, period. And I was like, alright, you're right. But that's Ron Weavly for you. Next up, our last Blackmon. I haven't gotten a chance to use this thing in a League format yet, and I really wanted to. It's ya boy Zerk, the Zerkatry. It's my other Z user, because everyone knows how terrifying Zerkatry can be. Zerkatry, as a Z Crystal user especially, with base 173 special attack, is absolutely devastating. Also, it has base 89 physical attack, which is actually pretty cool. So that could be useful. Just keep that in mind. It will be used. Fair warning. But it has access to a really decent amount of coverage. It gets access to things like Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, as long as it's with its Stab Electric coverage. Signal Beam to be used as a potential Z move. Stuff like that. It definitely has the options to be a very good Z user. I definitely can make use of it for sure. It gets access to Solar Beam? What? That's crazy! I did not know this thing got Solar Beam. Or Magnet Rise. This thing is going to be so much fun. Oh, this thing is going to be a blast. This thing is going to be a treat. Awesome. But there's a lot of also interesting tech Z moves to throw on there as well. It gets Tail Glow, by the way, just in case you didn't know. It got Tail Glow, by the way. Just in case you weren't aware that Zerkatry has Tail Glow. I figured I'd make that apparently clear. But your boy Zerk is going to be a terrifying monster on this team. It's not the fastest of electric types, I admit, but it has the potential to tear through most teams anyway, despite its speed stat. So that's my boy Zerk. Your boy Zerk is here. Alright, so now that I've got my black mons out of the way, I kind of wanted to start building the rest of my cores. And at this point, I already have a Steel/Fairy type, which I'll explain more as to how I handle that issue later. I got my electric type, but I don't have anything for my Fire Water Grass or my Fairy Dragon Steed, or I don't have my Dragon yet. I prioritize at this point. There's so many good dragons and all the other tiers that I didn't think anyone was. I didn't think there would be any way people could get all of the good ones before I finished my Firewater Grass Core, and so I went ahead and started drafting for that. And I went down to the brown tier and picked up RK9, the Arcanine. I'm really original with my nicknames. I'm not sure yet. I might just change it back to naming it Juwan after my buddy, but we'll see how that goes. But RK9, the Arcanine is Arcanine is just so amazing. It's a fantastic Pokemon. It's another Intimidate user on top of Mawile, which is an amazing thing to have. I love having Intimidate access in leagues. Can really shut down physical attackers really quickly. It also has access to Flash Fire, which provides me an immunity on my team, which is extremely useful, especially because so far I have 2 fire weaknesses, and I do pick up a few others later on in the draft. That's my draft is fairly fire weak. I do have things that can handle it, but it has a decent fire weakness that I have to always keep an eye on when it comes to matchups. But Intimidate and Flash Fire are 2 amazing abilities. Its stats are so good across the board. This thing is just really, really well built, amazing mon. The 90 HP with the 80 in both defenses makes it extremely, extremely bulky, especially with Intimidate. This thing eats hits for days, weeks, months, years. Also having reliable recovery. In Morning Sun, which is really good. It's fantastic Pokemon. Has it having a solid move pool as well, being able to run both physical or special, having a 110 attack and 100 special attack. This thing can hit hard on both sides. Access to things like Close Combat, Crunch, the obvious Flare Blitz, Flamethrower, Dragon Pulse. What? Iron Head, Outrage. Like, Wild Charge. This thing has coverage that I didn't even realize it had. It also has Aerial Ace, which I didn't know. But, fantastic Pokemon. Really, really good. Not much else I can say about Arcanine. Fantastic. A really good start to the Firewater Grass Core. So, in my mind, with Intimidate and everything, I like to view Arcanine as more so of a physical wall. But it's like something that can be built more to be a physical wall and still take hits on the special side as well, if you want to. I wanted something that's built more as a special wall that can also take hits on the physical side as my water type. So, for the first time in a long time, I don't think I've used this thing in League format in ages. I drafted Jormungand, the Milotic. Like Jormungand, the world snake in Norse mythology. I named it Jormungand because I thought it was a cool sounding name. But Milotic is amazing and was made even better in this generation. I'll explain why. You see right here, 95 HP it's a lot of HP. It's a big-ass HP stat. And 125 SPDEF, that is awesome. That is amazing. But you see it has 79 defense. Now, that's not normally an issue. But not really, because of Marvel Scale. Marvel Scale allowing its defense to be boosted by 1.5 if status. Now, before this used to be a problem because you used to have to take 12% damage every turn in order to make that ability useful. Not anymore because of the burn nerf in Gen 7. Burn now only doing 6% per turn. So Flame Orb Milotic is so much better now because with access to recover and stuff like that, you can easily bulk out so many hits and then just recover off all the damage, and the burn's barely even noticeable. Sorry about that. But Milotic is fantastic. It's so bulky. It can do a lot of things. Dragon Tail for phasing out setup mons. You cannot set up on Milotic ever. It has Dragon Tail and Haze, so don't even try it. Scald for burning things. Has access to things like Mirror Coat, Magic Coat. You can't set up no fucking hazards on this thing either. If you wanted to. It can Toxic Stall you really easily with Recover and stuff. Like, it's such an amazing Pokemon. Like, people who don't realize Milotic is good are dumb. It's so good. Such an amazing mon. I love it. I love Milotic so much. Now, we've got a Fire type. We've got a Water type. Milotic is my pink mon as well. Now, we have green, blue, gray, white, yellow, purple, and red remaining. So, I'm looking through the rest of the tiers, and I'm trying to find what I want my grass type to be. And I also realize on my team that I have 0 forms of hazard removal at this point, with 2 mons that are weak to rocks. And I don't like that. So, I go right to green, where I find my first hazard remover, and that is going to be Delmise, Ron Burgundy the Delmise. Always going to be shiny because of that reddish coloring. Love it. So, Ron Burgundy is great. You see its, first of all, you see its stats, and besides its speed, this thing's great. This thing hits so hard on the physical side. It can be built specially offensive if you need it to. I've done it before. I've run Giga Drain on my Delmises because I deemed it useful, and it was. It worked. And it has Rapid Spin. Plus, with its ability Steelworker, it's like it has 3 stab moves without the added benefit of being actually a Steel type. But you get stab bonus on Steel type moves, which is great because it has access to Anchor Shot, which is an awesome move to trap things if you have the opportunity to use it. Earthquake, Earth Break gets knockoff now as of Ultra Sun and Moon, which is amazing. Power Whip to nuke things. There it is. Power Whip to nuke things. Rapid Spin to remove hazards. This thing has so much bulk on its side, as well as being a hard-hitting monster. This thing is really, really hard to take down, and it can do a lot of damage before it's done. So I absolutely love Delmise. It's slowly becoming one of my favorite grass types to use in League format because of how many different things you can do with it. It's fantastic. I absolutely love Delmise, and I'm really happy that I have it on the team. So, Fireward Grass Core done and out of the way. We're there. Now we have to take care of our Dragon type. And there was this blinking light just staring at me in blue. This blinking, beautiful light staring at me. And I knew I had to grab him. It's my boy. Ya boy. Our boy. Rips to the Garchomp. Garchomp is a top-tier Pokemon in every sense of the word. Love Garchomp so much. I've used it in so many leagues now. It was on my playoff run team for NPBF, which was explained in the update video. It's one of the best mons to just have on a team ever. So what if it has a 4-type weakness to ice? That doesn't matter. This thing is amazing. Rough Skin, great ability, most likely going to have it 9 out of 10 times. Its stats across the board are just amazing, from its HP stat being super bulky, to breaking that base 100 speed tier, to being able to hit like a fucking truck, dude. If this thing ever got Dragon Dance, it'd be banned to Ubers instantaneously, guaranteed. Without a doubt in my mind, it would go to Ubers. But it has great coverage, fantastic move pool to work with. It's another Stealth Rock setter on top of Mawile, so it gives me something else to set rocks. So I'm really good in that sense. Just hyped to use Garchomp again. Y'all know how good Garchomp is. Y'all know how good Garchomp can be. So, yeah, let's just start shop. So, looking at my Fairy Dragon Steel Core, I did not like the fact that it was comprised of just 2 mons. Because my Fairy and Steel were locked into one place with Mega Mawile, and then I had my Dragon type in Garchomp. I'm not a huge fan of that entirely. So, my thought process in my head was, alright, I need at least 3 other things filled on my team: a bulky Psychic type, a grounded Poison type, and a Fighting type. I want a Fighting type on my team. Those were the 3 different roles that I still wanted covered on my team. So, I was thinking in my head, like, what else could I possibly need? And I couldn't really think of anything else. I had my cores, I had my electric type, I had everything that I really wanted up to that point for the team. So instead I decided to say, you know what? I'm going to try to grab an alternate Steel type and an alternate Fairy out of 2 other picks. Because I had 5 picks left. I have an alternate Steel and an alternate Fairy so that my Fairy Dragon Steel Core is interchangeable. I can throw different mons in that work that week so that I can really work around with, I can really mess around with my Fairy Dragon Steels. So the next mon I grabbed out of gray is Aggron. Now, Aggron is a good Pokemon in and of itself. Base 180 defense stat is ridiculous. And a 110 attack stat is even crazier. Sturdy is a great ability. This gives me another Rock Setter as well. Rockhead and Heavy Metal are both interesting abilities that can be run as well. If I'm running a more offensive set, if I can get up like a Rock Polish or something, I could run something like a Rockhead Head Smash variant of Aggron and just tear through a team. If I find the right matchup for it, it could be really interesting. Heavy Metal would boost the power of his Heavy Slams significantly, which would be really, really cool. Like, just max out the power of his Heavy Slams on literally any Pokemon, which would be great. That's also not why I drafted Aggron. See, before now, I had only 2 Mega options, and they were Garchomp and Mawile. And I don't like Mega Garchomp. I really don't like Mega Garchomp at all. I don't think it's a great Pokemon. I'm not the biggest fan of it outside of a Sand team. It's just not great, in my opinion. I've seen people use Mega Garchomp amazingly, and that is great for them. I'm just not a fan of it. So, I designated Aggron as my second Mega option. So, Gajiel, the Mega Aggron, y'all know him so well. We drafted Mega Aggron more times than we can count. Is even better than regular Aggron with Filter. Now, Filter is an amazing ability because it makes so super effective attacks only do 3/4 of the damage they normally would. So instead of double damage, it's kind of like 1 point. It's weird how the math works, but it does a lot less damage, and it can eat a lot of super effective hits before going down. With its stats, its 230 physical defense is through the roof, ridiculous, plain and simple. It eats hits on the physical side like it's no one's business. It's so fat and bulky and amazing. It makes Mega Aggron so stupidly strong. As a wall on a team, it makes it able to set rocks very easily because there's not many things that can OHKO it right away without setting themselves up. And even 80 Spadef on the special side, if you invest properly with the Filter ability, you can still live some special super effective hits on the special side as well. Like, this thing is fat on either side thanks to its ability, which is really, really great. So Mega Aggron has a lot of potential to be good on this team, and it's a good alternate Mega option to have with Mega Mawile. So if I can bring Mega Mawile, I can bring Mega Mawile on weeks that I may not want to bring our Fairy type / Gajiel, and I can bring that. And some weeks I might not want to bring Mawile, and I can bring Gajiel and our Fairy type. It's nice and interchangeable. and it can work really, really well for our team. Speaking of fairy type, I draft that next, and I was really scared because this is at this point in the draft, I had actually made a plan for my last 5 picks as to what I wanted, and thankfully I did not get sniped once. I sniped Frankie like 5 times, but I did not get sniped once, which is good. So I saw a fairy type in white, and I just really wanted to use it. I haven't used it too much, but it's something that it's always kind of been there, so I wanted to test it out. And that is Elaine from Fairy Tail, or not Fairy Tail. I'm so stupid. 7 Deadly Sins, named after King's sister Elaine, that Bond wants to bang, etc., etc. You know, you guys, if you've watched 7 Deadly Sins, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched 7 Deadly Sins, watch 7 Deadly Sins before you die, because that is something you have to do before you die. It's like a rule of society now. You have to watch 7 Deadly Sins before you die. It's a thing. You don't understand. But Elaine's a great Pokemon. Serene Grace is the ability that you're 9,000% of the time going to be running on it, because it doubles the secondary effect chances on moves. So you flinch every time you click Air Slash, etc., etc., things like that. It's got a lot of good status options, a lot of support options. It could be a cleric for the team with things like Wish, Heal Bell, stuff like that. It can be a very good cleric for the team, as well as being really annoying, being able to Thunder Wave and Air Slash flinch literally everybody. I can Wish Pass to people, which is fun. Really fat Pokemon. It also provides me a Defogger, which is really, really useful. I do love having a Defogger as well. So, hooray to that. So, I'm very, very happy to have Togekiss on the squad. It's got an amazing stat pool. Like, its defenses are stellar. 80 speed's not terrible. And I have 120 special attack stat. Like, people forget how strong Togekiss actually is on the special side. Like, this thing's ridiculously powerful. Like, this thing hits hard if it wants to. So, never sleep on a Togekiss. This thing is fantastically strong. So, don't just be thinking that, like, oh, I'm just gonna wall this Togekiss, it doesn't hit hard. No, bitch. It's a pretty ridiculous threat. So, really hyped to have Togekiss on the team. I'm really, really excited to finally get a chance to use it. The next thing I wanted was my bulky Psychic type. And I'm looking at the other tiers, and I just couldn't see anything that was really standing out to me as being, too fantastic. But then I found another Stealth Rocker, and a bulky Psychic that I appreciate so much. In the yellow tier, we pick up Super Slep, because look at him, he's super sleepy. He's so sleepy. Super Slep, the Uxie. Levitate gives me a ground type immunity, so now I have 2 ground immunities on my team between Togekiss and Uxie, which is really, really useful, as well as having the resistances with Round Burgundy as well, which is really, really useful, because I have a lot of ground weaknesses. Yeah. Very ground weak and very fire weak team, but we'll make it work. But Uxie is a great Pokemon. Amazing defensive stats across the board. 130 in both is amazing. Having 75 in both offensive stats allows me to be more flexible with what I can run on it as coverage moves on top of my bulk investment. And 95 in speed is also very, very useful, because it makes it faster than a lot of other bulky Pokemon. So I can easily get off knockoffs against them or stuff like that, or get certain status moves on them or taunt them, keeping them from doing performing any shenanigans that I'm not too big of a fan on. I just really love it. I just really love this Pokemon as a bulky Psychic. I think it's got a lot of potential to do a lot of really good things for our team, and I'm really excited to use it. I think I've used every form of the Lake Trios in League format now at this point. I'm pretty sure at some point or another I've used them all. So I'm really happy to use Uxie. Hooray. So the next pick I had, I actually have my picks written down here out of order. But the next pick I ended up doing, I wanted to do my red pick. Because I knew for a fact that there was no way in hell that I was going to be able to not get my purple pick. My purple pick was pretty much guaranteed to me. It was kind of a meme-ish pick, but something that I'm really looking forward to using. But I knew I was going to get my purple pick, so I went for my red pick first. And I actually ended up grabbing Swolskito, who will now always be shiny because shinies are legal. Swolskito the Buzzwole, because I like Buzzwole. First of all, Ultra Beasts are amazing to have because of Beast Boost, because you can literally just tear through a team if you get the right situation and setup going. You can pretty much tear through just about any team you want. It is kind of menacing. It is very dangerous. You don't want to fuck with an Ultra Beast. These things are strong. I love them. Ultra Beasts are amazing for that reason, and bug fighting is really, really good typing. Really helps with having a bug type resisting ground as well, so I have another ground resistance for my ground weak team, which is really nice, but it's also another fire weakness for my fire weak team, which is also not as nice, but that's fine. We will make it work, damn it. Our team is still good. We are good. We got this, don't worry. We have enough of a combination of things to handle that weakness, but Buzzwole is great. Just a really decent physical bulk. Its special defenses have a lot to be desired, and it has no special attack at all. Its speed's meh, but it's workable, and it can be used, if used appropriately, it can be very, very devastating. Its physical attack is ridiculous. It hits so hard. And it got access to a couple good moves as well in Ultrasign Moon, which is even better. But it has access to things like Drain Punch now, on top of a Leech Life, so you can literally just be constantly stealing HP from your opponent. Focus Punch is a great move. Sub Punch Buzzwole is actually disgusting. It has access to the Elemental Punches, except for Iron Punch or Fire Punch, because it's a bug type, I guess we can't put fire on its fist. It's rude. How uninclusive of you, Game Freak. Has some good rock coverage. Hits hard with things like Superpower as well. Just good Pokemon. It's hard to argue against Buzzwole being a good Pokemon. I love it. I'm excited to use it. I used it once before in the DZL when I took over. I had Buzzwole on my squad, and while it wasn't the best squad, and it was by far a decent squad, it is a squad that I'm really proud of. So, yeah. Now, on to my purple pick. It is a grounded poison type, and it is something that is a total meme, but I've wanted to use, and that is Monsieur Noodle, the Swalot. Swalot is an interesting Pokemon, because it is actually really bulky. 83 in both its defenses with a base 100 HP stat. This thing is actually ridiculously fat. Being a grounded poison type, it allows me to completely handle toxic spikes. So there will be no toxic spike issues with my team. If I see something on my opponent's side that can set toxic spikes, or I believe it's likely for him to bring toxic spikes, you will see Swalot on the team. Like, it's not like it's a meme pick that's going to sit in the back of my team and never get used. Now, I will use Swalot. It will happen, because I like Swalot. Liquid Ooze is a fun ability to have, because Liquid Ooze allows me to hurt opponents that have draining moves, like Drain Punch, Giga Drain, things like that, which also this thing resists. So this thing is a great fighting type switch-in. This is a great grass type switch-in. There's plenty of moves nowadays. It's also a good bug type switch-in for things that might want to run Leech Life. So Monsieur Noodle is going to be a really, really fun mon to toy around with and see what I can do with, because just look at him. Just look at his little noodle stash. It's fucking hilarious. I love it. It also has access to Gluttony, which is actually really cool. With the 50% berries now, if I can build a bulky enough spread, I can definitely screw around with that, getting off a munching on a 50% berry at half, and then just going right back up to full, and then my opponent just being like, "Fuck you." Yeah, I can do things like that. With its offensive stats as both being 73, while it won't be doing too much damage, but with access to things like Acid Spray, if I'm running a more special set, I can really lower their SPDF and beat them that way. Things like Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb / Sludge Wave, I can really do that. It has access to the Elemental Punches, which is hilarious because of all the guys with these little nub hands. These little cute little nub hands he's going to be beating you up with. I love Swalot. I don't know why I love Swalot so much. It's such a cool Pokemon. It's a fun little Pokemon to use. And I think it's going to be interesting to toy around with this thing. It's got a lot of different setup options if I want to set up and be bulky and annoying. This is like one of the original Stockpile Pokemon too, so I can toy around with Stockpile if I want to do that. Maybe if I'm like guaranteed playoffs, I'll bring like Stockpile, Spit Up, Swalot, like the last week, just to fuck around, because why not, dude? I think that'd be funny. I think that'd be really cool to use something silly like that in the final week, just to fuck around, but who knows, I might even bring like a Double Dance, like Acid Armor, Amnesia, Swalot. It has access to Counter, which is kind of cool. I actually did not know that. Does it get Mirror Coat? No, it doesn't, but Swalot's a cool Pokemon. I'm looking forward to using it a lot, and that is our team. I know there's a little bit of a long draft analysis, but it's also a really long draft. We draft, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Pokemon, and 2 of them get to have Megas as well as their regular forms, so it's kind of essentially like almost a draft of 14. So there's a lot to talk about, but I'm really excited for PTL Season 4. I'm excited to get into using these Mons. I really can't wait for Week 1 to start. Week 1 we are taking on Marcelo. He has the brown team, and he also has one of the most terrifying drafts in the whole league. So I'm terrified, but at the same time excited, because I missed these guys. So if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like down below. Subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, guys, I'm PokePrimer, signing off.